Hello and welcome to Elvil and Associates and the law offices of Gary Greenwald's 2020 client event on-demand video presentations. We're pleased you joined us. We're privileged to have Dr. Michelle Fritsch with us today, CEO and founder of Retirement Wellness Strategies and Meds MASH. She is also a board certified doctor of pharmacy and author, nationally sought after speaker, and has presented with us at our Elvil webinar series this past summer. After years in academia and geriatric healthcare, she founded Retirement Wellness Strategies in late 2018. More information can be found at her website, retirewellness.com. This came from years of seeing people, mostly men with high demand jobs, be robbed of their retirement dreams due to preventable health crises. Over 25 years of healthcare expertise led to the creation of 16 proprietary tools enabling clients to prevent issues with physical health through current health optimization and very proactive risk management, all in collaboration with the current healthcare team, physical and social health, and help them transition from their careers to what comes next. The end result is a strategic plan for retirement. Today, Dr. Fritsch will be discussing maintaining hope and health through purpose, a very timely and important topic as we all navigate through this pandemic together. So Dr. Fritsch, I will turn it over to you, and thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much, Jeffrey, and to all at Elvil and Associates. I applaud you all for the health focus that you've given this year's event because, as you said, and the times that we're in, we're finding evidence that people are really struggling. And so I'm honored to be able to come and spread some hope and some strategy to all of that. So we're talking about maintaining hope and health through purpose. I would just love to take a few minutes and have you think about how that impacts you. So let's start with when you see the word hope, what does that make you think about? What are your current sources of hope? And then what about wellness or health? What does being well look like for you? I'm going to go slow through this part because I would love for you to really take a couple minutes and think about that. How do you define that for yourself? I will say I've always found it fascinating how varied the answers to a question like this can be. So there's certainly no one right answer. And lastly, have you thought about your purpose? If you were asked to state your purpose, is for some people, they've given that tremendous deep thought. And for others, it's like, no one's ever asked me that before. I haven't really thought about it. So I encourage you now, just figure out where you are kind of on that line of possibilities from never thought about it to well defined. And where would you like to be? So with those thoughts in mind, what's your source of hope? How hopeful are you right now? What does well look like to you? And where are you in that continuum of determining your purpose? Let's talk about why those things are important and how they impact your overall health. I define health. If you've heard me speak before, you know this is like my soapbox. We think often of our physical health when someone asks if we're healthy, and that's our diagnoses, the medications we take, the reasons we go to the doctor most often as our health. But I'm here to propose that your health is so much broader than that. And especially in these times, people's health is being bombarded in so many ways. So when you think about your mental health, are you having more days where you're feeling depressed? How are you managing anxiety? Are you experiencing moments of panic? If you're experiencing those things, I can tell you, you are absolutely not alone. For many people, those things are episodic, and for others, they are chronic conditions that are treated over time. How about your emotional health? I think of the emotional health that you're a ship out on the sea. Are you a ship that's free floating and going up and down with the waves and up and down and just kind of riding it as it is? Or are you a ship with some sort of deep anchor that's keeping you a little bit more stable as you're out on those waves? How about your spiritual health? I know a lot of people think, oh, I'm not religious. Well, your spiritual health is so much deeper than that. And there's no one way to be spiritually healthy. But I find when people try to ignore or deny that completely, it does have a negative impact on their health. So have you explored it for yourself? What does spiritual health look like? And then social health. That's a tough one right now. We're talking about socially distancing. I hate that term. I wish we called it physically distancing because socially, more than ever, we really need to be connected. And so, even though it is different, are you finding ways to interact with other people, whether it's yelling from porch to porch or being distanced outside somewhere? Telephone, video chats, emails, old-fashioned mail, sharing of photos, so many ways to stay connected. But it's more important than ever that we do stay connected. And it's fascinating to me that all of these pieces are absolutely critical in defining your overall health. So I appreciate your time and attention, and we're going to navigate this a little bit and better understand it. One other way to look at it is your biological health, so that's kind of your physical health, is a component of your psychological health. That's like the mental health, the whether you're a ship that's anchored or you are a ship that's tossing in the waves, whether you are experiencing anxiety and depression during these times. And then your social health encompasses both of those because it has a direct impact on those. And your spiritual health overrides it all. So, to give it a little bit more meat on the bones, if you will, um, meaning and purpose, your direction in life impacts these, and your health in these areas tends to allow you to more easily find your meaning and purpose. Well, how about your self-worth and your belonging? Where are you in the scheme of this world? And that goes very specifically to your social and spiritual health there. And then what about your reconciliation, not living in conflict with people, but feeling loved, loving others, and being loved? And you don't have to be married to be able to experience this. Friendships, some people talk about their geographic family when they have to live away from their family. Finding that support group and those people that you really deeply care about and they care about you all feeds into your health. And now bear with me a minute. My next slide is very busy, but I just want to point out a couple of things. So just ride this one with me. When we think about our health, there are so many factors that feed into our health. And in this case, you could do this Venn diagram with all sorts of different health in the middle, depending on how you orient it. This one has mental health. But think about all the things in your life that feed into your ability to navigate things. Who have been your friends and what's been their role in your life? How about your family? How stable has your family been? What kind of schools did you go to? Did those really build you up as a person? How is your current physical health? Are you experiencing any disabilities? What about your genes? That's still a fairly new science, but it's really helping people find new levels of health by determining what foods work best for them, what medications work best for them. It's fascinating. How about your self-esteem, your coping skills? Oh my goodness. Most people are not born with coping skills. I mean, look at any baby. They just cry when something happens. They're learned. And we sometimes have to really, really work hard as an individual to learn great coping skills. If it's not an area where you've done some self-improvement, I'd encourage you to explore it. How are your social skills? And then what traumas have you endured? What's the impact of any medications or other drugs that you take? What's your temperament? It's amazing all the pieces and the parts that feed into our overall health. So let's talk about negativity. We're going to go low. We're going to go deep and dark for a minute, but I promise we're going to come right back out. So there's a lot of negativity in our world right now when you think about our society and even our globe. And then bring that down to your local geographic area, your community, your house, what's between your ears and your own head. How much negativity are you dealing with? Because it definitely steals your happiness. What's your self-talk like? Do you get down on yourself? Do you feel like you're lovable? Do you have people that love you no matter what? That sort of unconditional love that we, often find with a sibling or a parent or a really good friend, a spouse. Um, how much is negativity playing a role in your life right now? And if it is playing a big role, I'm hoping at the end of this that you have some strategies to turn that around. How about stress? How do you handle anger? Do you fly off the handle easily? How do you react when other people are angry? What about criticism? Do you take all criticism as negative? Is it hurtful? Do you run from it? Or do you kind of stand there and learn from it? Unexpected annoyances. That could be somebody pulling in front of you, cutting you off, dropping the door in your face. How do you handle those things? Do those really get to you? Or are you able to kind of navigate those with some sort of lighter thoughts about them, not let them get to you? Um, Again, back to your self-talk. What do you say to yourself when you miss a deadline? How do you handle sadness, disappointment, financial insecurity, social unrest? How are you managing all of this stress? Sometimes we sit there and say, oh, this is happening to me. I can't control it. I'm a victim. And some stuff comes at you that you can't control and you can't stop it, but how you react to it is very much in your power. And I'm not trying to make light of that. I succumb to stress, no doubt, as well as does everyone I know. But there are strategies we can employ to try to at least reduce some of that impact. So, looking at the health literature, I'm a science geek. These things have actually been measured. That when you hold on to grudges and can't let go and let those drive you for the rest of your life, you're always blaming somebody else for anything that happens. If you get into a situation where you're isolated and you're not staying connected to other people, if you're the victim of oppression, if you're holding on to resentments or self-pity, woe am I, these terrible things have happened in my life, you just don't know, I'm going through so many bad things, I've been rejected, I hate that I've been rejected, it's changed my life, I'll never be the same. All those sorts of really negative, self-defeating thoughts have been very directly linked to poor health. Higher heart attack risk, higher stroke risk, major rates of depression, more likely to have substance abuse issues. So if that's you, if you're like, oh, I've got some stuff I haven't let go of, I just can't navigate, we're going to talk in a minute about strategies to try to get beyond those because they can certainly be a tough blow that knock you down, but I don't want you to stay down. There are ways to get back up. Some other realities, especially right now as we're navigating COVID and social unrest and political unrest. When the doors open, because we've been pretty separated from each other. I know I've got some friends and family members and neighbors who are being extremely cautious and really haven't seen anybody else now in 9 months. It leads to weight gain. I know it's true of me. There are stress effects from this staying in. Rates of alcoholism and addiction are going way up. And then we suspect, it's hard to measure right now, but suspect that the child abuse, domestic violence, elder abuse rates are going way up. Stress levels are high. fuses, if you will, toward anger are short, especially if people aren't actively working on ways to stay fulfilled and to try to tamper or decrease that anger outlet, and that can come out and hurt other people. So we as a society, epidemiologists are predicting that these rates are much higher than we realize. I'll skip ahead to something I want to talk about in a minute. But if you suspect this anywhere, please reach out to those people. Give them an outlet. If I take the person that's short-tempered out and just kind of fill them up a little bit, help them overcome that, or remove the people that are in danger from those situations. Epidemiologists have been consumed, as you can imagine, with measuring things related directly to COVID, like numbers of cases and positive response, how many people have a positive test when they're tested, those sorts of things. But we're finally seeing a little bit of shift to going back to measuring things that we measured before that are also very important. And we're finding opioid use is up. And at the time that we're recording this, Purdue Pharma just pled guilty and had a major fine attached to them. And I'm excited that there are some smart people trying to find very good ways to use that money. But opioid use is up as a coping mechanism, as is tobacco, alcohol, marijuana, or cannabis. I'm not talking specifically about medical marijuana, but more illegal use currently of marijuana and excessive use of marijuana. Pornography, and with that, sex trafficking rates are way up. Gambling, all the ways that people are trying to escape their reality in harmful ways are going up. So how do we help those people? How do we help ourselves avoid some of this? Well, I want to explain a little bit more how it all interrelates. So we're living in a time where people are experiencing a lot of stress and a lot of fear. And as a result of those, we're seeing people do a lot of stress eating, stress drinking, poor coping mechanisms, especially if they've never really worked on developing some good coping. Anger, again, short fuses, people reaching the point of anger much quicker, as well as people being recipient of other people's anger more than they have in the past. Oops, I've got my thing set up where I can't read this. Oh, and sleeplessness or alterations in sleep patterns. So I want you to think for a minute, is any of this you? Have you experienced stress and fear? And as a result, have you been eating more or less healthy? Have you been drinking more? Have you found that your coping mechanisms aren't as great as they could be? How are you managing your own anger and the anger of the people around you? And how's your sleep? Well, when these things all get out of whack, if you will, when they're not healthy, that can lead to a raised blood pressure. A raised blood pressure puts you at risk of a heart attack or a stroke. And then that raised blood pressure and all of these other, not so much the blood pressure itself, but these other activities can cause your weight to increase. And when your weight increases, your blood sugar tends to go up. And then related to all of these things, they can lead to chronic pain. So the extra weight is harder on your joints. The blood sugar going up tends to can impact whether you're able to sleep well. The blood pressure causing potential damage to your heart and your kidneys. All of these things are so interrelated. And then once you're experiencing the chronic pain, that feeds right back to the stress and the fear. So this becomes a very vicious cycle. So I want to slow down just a minute because I think this is probably the most important thing I'm going to talk about, and it's very busy. So if you'll bear with me, let's go through it one more time. We're living in a time of great stress and fear. And when we have those and we don't have super good coping mechanisms for those, then we tend to stress eat and drink more. Our anger, our own anger flares more easily, and we're the recipient of other people's anger more often. Our sleep can get really messed up. And when we're not coping well with all those things around us, our blood pressure goes up. When our blood pressure goes up, even though this is coming from sort of the mental, emotional, social space, it all feeds into that physical blood pressure. When our blood pressure goes up, our risk of damage to our heart through a heart attack, too much pressure in our brain could lead to a stroke. Blood pressure is up. Our kidneys have to work a lot harder, leading to some early kidney damage. And then these things also feed into our weight going up. The negative emotions tend to cause us to accumulate more fat weight, and then the stress eating and drinking certainly add to the weight gain. When our weight goes up and we're more overweight or obese, our pancreas can't keep up. So then our blood sugar goes up. We go from no risk of diabetes to early pre-diabetes to full-blown diabetes as our weight goes up. And then so our blood sugar has gone up, which leads to the diabetes. And then all of these things lead to chronic pain. I have had, I was going to say thousands, I can say with certainty hundreds and hundreds of patients with chronic pain conditions that go back to holding on to grudges and blame and negativity in their life that they've never been in a position to, in a healthy way, let go with and deal with those things. Often it was trauma or abuse that they were told to not tell anyone about. At some point, those things come out, and often as chronic pain. And when you are in chronic pain, it is hard to think in really positive, productive ways. So another picture of that is when we're more anxious, our pain feels worse. What could be like a minor, I can cope with it pain can feel much bigger when we're feeling anxious. And when our pain is worse, we're not sleeping well. And when we're not sleeping well, we're not managing our anxiety well. And this is another vicious cycle that I've seen so many people get trapped in. So let's pause for a minute and just think about what can we do to improve our sleep? Because if we improve our sleep, we manage our anxieties better. If we manage our anxieties better, we feel less painful and we're able to sleep again the next night. So a few things. We're bombarded with information right now, so try to shut all of that off as you're headed toward bed. I know a lot of people watch the 11 p.m. news and then try to sleep. The 11 p.m. news is not the kind of information typically that helps me relax, I'll tell you that. So think about getting away from screens, the television, your phone, your computer. Shut all of that down and develop some new bedtime rituals that allow you to interact with other people, kind of feed your social health, things that maybe could feed your intellectual health in some relaxing, like maybe some reading or some music, things that you, whatever you find relaxing, then be active during the day. Let your brain and your body know, hey, it's daytime, we're awake, we're moving, we're doing things, we're fully engaged so that you're tired when it's bedtime. I know that during the quarantine, some people have just sat around and binged Netflix all day. Your body never got the message that, hey, we're awake right now, and being able to separate that from time to sleep. And then, depending on your own preferences, some things that I have done or patients have told me about that they do that really help them wind down might be a hot bath or shower, soothing music, soothing scents. Lavender has been known to help people kind of calm, chamomile tea, white noise. Now, if this is a new concept for you, I've talked to a number of people who say that one of the reasons they can't fall asleep or stay asleep is all the noise in their head, to-do lists and reviewing things that have happened during the day, pressures about things that they need to remember to do the next day, all that stuff in your head. Sometimes your brain just needs something else to do. And so there are a number of noise patterns out there that can distract your brain and allow you to sleep. There's white noise and pink noise and brown noise. So if this is a new concept, look it up on the computer. You can find it on YouTube. Look at the different colors of noise and just listen. And it's sort of a psh kind of thing. I know maybe some people have tried to sleep to the sound of the ocean or birds chirping or crickets, but this is just a steady, constant, different sort of level of noise. And many people have found great success being able to sleep by doing some of these other things and then just turning on that kind of noise, and it allows them to sort of sink in and sleep. I will tell you, I discourage use of medications to sleep. A lot of the over-the-counter sleep medicines are Benadryl, diphenhydramine, and that is the number one medication most linked to nighttime falls. So I really don't want that to happen to any of you. So I discourage use of medication. So think about your sleep strategy. What can you do to make that better? So let's turn this around, get away from all the negative. How can we improve your health at a time like this? Because there are a lot of good ways we can do that. One is, we talked about hope at the beginning of this, it's in the title. Things that have been studied in the literature to show to increase your well-being, enhance the length of your life and your overall health, are to be engaged with other people. Have an optimistic outlook. That kind of goes back to those coping skills. If you've never studied how to be more open and positive and have better coping skills, I encourage you to pursue that. Having that supportive network, friends, family, the ability to bounce back, conflict management skills, another area that we're not born with, good conflict management skills. If that's a struggle in your life, there are a lot of good tools out there to help you get better at that. And it's amazing how that relieves a lot of the stress of conflict. Focus more on others. Get outside of yourself. Boy, once we start thinking, I feel bad about this, and I feel that, and I feel this pain, and I feel that, it's a negative spiral. So how can you, rather than thinking about yourself, do something for someone else? Go pick some flowers and take them to a neighbor. You'll be amazed how much it picks up your own outlook and the way you think about things. Gratitude. What are you thankful for? Even when things are bad. What are the things that are good? I mean, you're still here, still breathing. What are the people and the items that are around you for which you could be grateful? What's your purpose? We talked about this at the beginning, but purpose is absolutely essential. And then whatever it looks like for you, whether it's a higher power or something outside of your health, outside of yourself, what's your source of hope? So again, these sort of more positive things have actually been linked in studies to better overall health and longer life. So which of these things do you have room to enhance in your own life? I believe our future should involve great relationships, adventure, be very fulfilling. The reason I started retirement wellness strategies is because of some frightening outcomes that I was seeing. Divorce rates going up in people over 50, rapid health decline. So somebody seems really healthy until they retire, and then boom, their health declines quickly. I've seen that even with people who seem to kind of have it all together, and still within 6 months to a year, their health declines quickly. And almost always, years of working in hospitals, I see this, and I talk to people about their stories, and it was preventable if we could just get in front of it. So again, it's why I do what I do. Disability. So you wanted to be able to hike and travel, but something happens such that you can't walk very well, or you're not as strong as you used to be. Again, it's very often preventable. And then some people who don't find that sense of purpose fall into depression, and that leads to a deep, dark sense of despair that is causing suicide rates to rise. And I can't stand that. I don't think you can stand that either. So what can we do to turn this around? Well, I've talked to a lot of people who had big retirement dreams, but time went by fast. They were busy thinking about who's going to take over my job, who do I need to train, what do I need to accomplish before I retire. They're not taking care of themselves, and suddenly they retire and they fall into one of those frightening outcomes. And that usually is related to they didn't take care of themselves, or they didn't identify the purpose. Just within the last, I don't know, 2 or 3 weeks, I've talked to 2 different men who retired, and they thought, well, people retire every day. I'm just going to do it, and then I'll figure out what I want to do. And one of them, he called it his sabbatical. Both of these men, within 6 to 8 weeks, ended up going out and finding a job, either as a consultant, back at their previous company or finding a job elsewhere because they didn't find their purpose. And after they'd golfed a few times or traveled or whatever, they didn't like it. And so then they went right back to work. So that purpose is really critical when you're thinking about making that big transition. So you think about your team. There's you, there's your family, your primary care physician, your other doctors, your the rest of your healthcare team, maybe dietitian and physical therapist. Certainly, Elville and Associates, your legal, your financial advisors. If you need help along the way, Retirement Wellness Strategies is here for you. But think about your retirement planning or whatever life transition might be coming next for you. Who's your team, and how can you engage your whole team in that process? And I have to stop for a minute because this has been interesting and kind of made me laugh. The last few weeks, again, I've had some opportunities to talk to some families that are either newly retired or nearing retirement, and in two different situations with men who in their chosen profession were almost household names. I mean, they were incredibly well known, incredibly successful, early in retirement now, and both of these men are like, oh yeah, I got it, I'm all over it, I've got this retirement thing figured out. And their wives are like, for the love of God, do something with him. He's miserable, this is terrible, he has no idea what to do with himself. So two very different pictures. So I encourage people, one, to kind of talk a little bit more among that family unit, see, have people mirror back to you what they're seeing, even if you think you've got it all figured out. But really challenge yourself to figure out, well, who do I want to be? What's my next legacy when you get to that next transition in life? So I encourage you to find quick access with acute issues. Who do you turn to that can answer questions and make sure you get good advice and good care when you need it? When you or anyone in your family or friend group gets a scary diagnosis, whether it be cancer or heart failure or whatever, identify who in your healthcare circle can navigate you through that, because it gets complex. It's emotionally draining and it's just logistically complex. There are a number of people out there who help guide you through that. Coordinating all your care with your providers, you want to make sure that everybody who makes a decision in your health has the whole picture and the correct picture. Oh my goodness, that very rarely is actually the case. And so one of the things that the Elville and Associates is going to send you is a kind of a little ebook or a guide on how to navigate today's healthcare and how to make sure that everyone's on the same page. And then be able to identify and live within your new purpose. Again, find that new area to leave a new legacy with the resources, the skills you've accumulated, the passions, the things that interest you. There's so many great options, but sometimes people just need a little nudge to figure out what that is for them. If you're someone that needs a nudge, at Retirement Wellness Strategies, again, this is exactly why I formed this, because I talked to so many people, mostly men, who were really defined by their career. They were super successful in whatever they did and really struggled when they tried to leave that and move to what's next. So we designed this whole process around helping people do that while making sure that we prevent those preventable health crises. So the process is several different kind of tools. You can do them all. You can pick and choose what you want, but tools that work on that purpose or meaningfulness for you, how to stay physically and socially active. It's amazing how often somebody's social network was all consumed around their job or their career. And when they leave that, that social network stays over here, and now they feel isolated over here and no longer connected and without a new social network. So sometimes it takes some active planning to figure out whether you stay connected to pieces of this or you form a new social network. sustained using some of the new sciences, as well as just looking at your own risk factors. What can we do to reduce all the risks that could really negatively impact what you want to do next? And then that overall health, coordinating all of it, making sure everybody's on the same page. And we do it on a secure platform where all your health data stays accurate all the time. And if you're out traveling somewhere exotic and you break your ankle, you can get access to your health information immediately. So lots of options. If any of this, if I've raised questions that you're not sure how to navigate those, I'd be glad to talk to you. And what we do is we turn it all into one-page strategic plan, very personalized to you, as to how are we going to navigate all of these changes and stay on track to live in health and with a really positive, purposeful future. So if you want to know more, I've written a book called Preventive Maintenance for a High Mileage Life. Contact me if you'd like a signed hardback or like a paperback copy, or you can find it on Amazon for an ebook. And again, any questions, I'd be glad to navigate those. Jeff, if there's a way to sort of connect questions people have with me, I'd be glad to help with that, and look for that strategic document that will help you also move forward. So I wish you great health. I know these are difficult times, and I encourage you to find all those proactive steps you can take to keep yourself really healthy through this. I wish you all the best.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Fritsch, for a great presentation, a virtual hand to you. Just wonderful thoughts, ideas, best practices, a wealth of information. And we're so happy that you agreed to come back and be with us again. And we look forward to having you back. I hope sometime in the near future. To our clients, we hope that you take this presentation to heart. And hope that your families and you are doing well during these challenging times that we're all facing. And if we haven't seen you in the office, we hope to see you real soon. You have Dr. Fritsch's information, and I'll be sure to send that back out to you again as I get this on-demand content to you, as well as the additional information. And I have a copy of her book right here, and it is signed, and I've read some of it, and it's very, very good, and I encourage you to take a look at it. So just one closing thought. One of my very favorite quotes that I've ever heard is from the movie The Shawshank Redemption. Andy Dufresne, played by Tim Robbins, he said, "Hope is a good thing, maybe the best of things, and no good thing ever dies." And I probably think of that quote about one time a day. If I'm going through any challenges or anything of that nature, but it always just resonates with me. And I think that's something that we can all, think about as we, go through these, difficult times that we're facing, and always have some hope in our life. And I think that's something that resonated with me throughout the course of your presentation today, Dr. Fritsch. So thank you very much again. We'd like to thank you for being part of our 2020 Client Event On Demand video series, and hope you enjoy our other content we have available. Have a great day, everybody.